let's get to the AFC West and the draft needs. We will start with the Los Angeles Chargers. Josh, they are picking number 17. What team needs do they have, and who can you see them targeting?
A couple of months ago, I would have said that defensive tackle was one of the biggest needs for this team, but they did address it in free agency. I mean, they went out and they got Sebastian Joseph Day, they got Austin Johnson. So they've got a couple competent bodies in the middle of that defensive line that now also has Khalil Mack. So the areas of interest that I look for on this team would obviously be the right tackle position. They signed Brian Bulaga last year, and they, hoped that was going to work out for them long term, but unfortunately he had some injury history, and they had to move on from him, and now they're probably going to be bringing in a replacement for him. So I look at right tackle, I look at tight end, I look at linebacker, and to be honest, although it may not be a pressing need for this team, I also like the idea of them taking a wide receiver in the first round. We saw the benefits of having 3 wide receivers in Cincinnati and the impact that it had on Joe Burrow. So I would like to see something similar play out in Los Angeles. So the options that I'm looking at in the first round, maybe a Chris Olave from Ohio State. Maybe you get one of those right tackles, whether that's Northern Iowa's Trevor Penning, Central Michigan's Bernard Raymond, Charles Cross from Mississippi State. Those are the primary names that I would be looking at in the first round.
For me, linebacker seems like a pretty big need as well. I think later in the draft, they could address wide receiver, although I don't hate the idea. If one of those guys, if one of the Ohio State receivers is there, I would like that. To me, if Drake London falls, I think it would be fun to have Mike Williams and Drake London in the same receiver group. It would kind of be, going against the trend of a lot of teams having these smaller, quicker separators, 2 guys that could really just go up and get it on throws from Justin Herbert. The linebacker spot, though, they lost Kaiser White in free agency to the Eagles. And he, just from watching the Chargers film last year, Kaiser White was that kind of do everything coverage linebacker that the Chargers now don't have on their defense. I think if Nakobe Dean is there, if they don't love the receivers, I would certainly be a fan of that selection. Or maybe they dip back into the well with a bigger linebacker. They picked Kenneth Murray, traded up for him 2 drafts ago.
Chargers fans
not panned out.
Murray.
Yeah, with Devin Lloyd. But
Kenneth Murray.
I feel like it would be a little bit too similar in terms of the style and the size profile. So if it's not Trevor Penning, a lot of the guys that Josh laid out, Nakobe Dean being that smaller, a little bit more agile coverage linebacker would make a lot of sense. And then if not, just address offensive tackle or address wide receiver.
I felt like Storm Norton was kind of good last year. Like, like
maybe later in the season. Yeah.
Like once he was sort of forced into action, he wasn't nearly as bad as maybe people thought he would be. He exceeded expectations. How about that? No?
Yeah, I think
that's
I think that's being really nice. And it just felt like from watching Justin Herbert, it was like we saw with the Chargers with their offensive line, a shining example of an offensive line being a weak link system that the rest of the line was actually pretty good. Certainly Rashawn Slater at left tackle.
I mean, Slater
the interior wasn't bad. Yeah. The interior wasn't bad, but there were so many plays that Keenan Allen's open down the field, or Mike Williams is open, Jared Cook's open, and Justin Herbert's about to release the football, but then he gets moved off his spot because Storm Norton was allowing a pressure. I think
or maybe it was. Am I wrong? Was Storm Norton like miserable and he was just awful?
I think he was really bad, unless Josh saw something else.
No, Josh, I think Matt Filer wasn't bad. What are you talking about, bro? Look, again, my memory is shot to crap. I don't know what the hell's happening. But I thought I remember seeing like some good reps from Storm Norton, or maybe they're like really bad reps, and I'm trying to I remember them thinking like that's amazing how bad that is. It could be either one. I do think that there's a chance that they Max, that's right. Tupi in the chat says, oh my God, that's right. Max Crosby did destroy him, didn't he? Yeah, okay. All right.
Definitely.
I'll go back and watch some Storm Norton later on this week. I do think they really like Josh Palmer, their 3rd round pick that they took last year, and he's got a ton of upside. I think they love Jalen Guyton, although obviously not as a full-time outside wide receiver. He's just a really nice complementary piece. And then Parham and Everett at the tight end position. I was sort of thinking out loud, like, does Tom Telesco feel like adding another weapon on offense is more important than either one? I mean, protecting his quarterback or improving the defense. Because I think this team has to believe in the third, this is probably your last year with Justin Herbert on, a rookie contract. Like, you would think he gets extended next offseason when he's eligible with the way he's played his first 2 years. Maybe Tom Telesco thinks we need to like shore up any major holes the best we can, but I don't know. I mean, I think wide receiver is on the table, but they've probably got enough unless they're thinking about a long-term replacement for Keenan Allen, who has 3 years left on his deal and is probably going to, be let go or at the end of that, because he'll be 32. I mean, I suppose he could re-sign on a cheaper deal. But anyway, yeah, I think what you guys broke down makes sense. And now I'm just sort of reeling about my thoughts on Storm Norton.
Well, I think, when you look at the possibilities in the first round, you're more likely to get a starting caliber offensive tackle in the first round than you would be in the second round or the third round. And if you decided to go wide receiver on day 2, then you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone and still have starting quality players at both positions.
And I mean, they've drafted, Mike Williams was a really high draft pick in the 2017 class. He was like number 9 or something like that, I think. Yeah, that's not crazy picks at all for, and also we're assuming too that, I mean, I guess we're not assuming, we talked about this ad nauseum with the Saints Eagles discussion, the 3 of us did, but did the Saints move up to like steal Trevor Penning from the Chargers 3 months before the draft? I mean, that, again, it seems kind of crazy, but all right, let's move on.